Hey guys, welcome to week 3 of Road Trip, this summer series from the Big Idea Camp. I hope you're having an excellent summer so far. Again, we introduced this a few weeks ago. I don't know what your plans are. Maybe you're going to some amazing places. Maybe you're going to go to an amusement park or maybe even the beach. Or maybe you're just staying home. Maybe you're going to the pond or the lake, the creek. You're going fishing, hanging out with your friends. Maybe you're going to challenge a fear this summer, get on a big roller coaster that does the loop-the-loop. Or just maybe you're just chilling. Maybe you're playing Fortnite with your buddies. Either way, for whatever the case may be, between the time school let out and the time that school goes back next month, I just hope you're having a great summer so far. So we introduced this idea a couple weeks ago. Andy Stanley once said, it's called the principle of the path. He said that it's your direction, not your intention, that determines your destination. And what we decided that means was that the way that you're going really matters in life. The way that you're headed, the path that you're on is really important. Matter of fact, I think we would all say it's pretty clear. We all want to end up somewhere on purpose, right? We all want to go somewhere good. We don't want to be like swerving off the path, hitting the tree in life and getting distracted by the whatevers of life. We want to get somewhere on purpose. But there's a purposeful way to make sure that that happens. And so the first week we talked about just that principle of the path and how it is important to set goals. So 2 weeks ago we talked about goals and how it is very important. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. But if you know where you're going, like for example, we use this one. If you want to wake up tomorrow and go to Miami, chances are you're not going to go get in a car and drive north. You'll probably end up in Canada that way. But if you want to go to Miami, you're going to find out the roads that take you there and you're going to get on those roads on purpose. And then last week we talked about who's in your car. Like, I don't want you to travel alone, but I don't want you to pick up strangers either. Does that make sense? So we talked about the people that surround you, the people that are closest to you when you're on your path in this world, in this life. It matters. So we said we want you to be around people that encourage you. We want you to be around people that are quick to pick you up when you make a mistake. They're quick to dust you off and say, hey, wow, that was a bummer moment, but come on, let's get back in this thing. Let's do the right thing. It's always the right time to do the right thing. We want those kind of people in our life. We don't want the strangers. I want to, again, I'll repeat what we said last week. I want to remind you that if there are people in this world that you find yourself having to become somebody else, the people that maybe don't really honor your values, people that maybe pull you down a little bit, I want you to be very careful with those people in your car or those people that are with you on the journey. Now, I even kind of gave you a little teaser last week. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most famous questions, maybe the most annoying questions to parents ever asked in the world, and it's this question: are we there yet? I'll just say this. Yesterday, I came back from Pittsburgh. I was there from Thursday until Saturday. My son and I, my 9-year-old son and I, took a trip to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, about an hour away from each other. I was doing some work with some of my friends at the Fred Rogers Center. We were doing a really great project. I can't really talk about it yet, but I will be able to once it's unveiled. But we were there for a couple days. Got to meet with some of my friends, got to meet some new people, interview some new people. It was really cool. But I will also say this, Pittsburgh's about 4.5 hours away. And so between here and Pittsburgh, there were quite a few times that my son would say, hey, are we there yet? Or are we close? Or are we almost there? Or are we getting there? And to which maybe I don't remember as much asking that question when I was growing up. I know I probably did 1,000,000 times. My parents tell me that I did about 1,000,000 times. Even if we were just going to like Walmart, like 10-minute drive, I'd say, are we there yet? I don't really remember it. But now as a dad with 2 sons, I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot if we're going across the, if we're just going across the subdivision or to my parents' house, which is only 2 miles away, or if we're going to the beach like we're getting ready to do in like a week, actually. So I heard it a lot, are we there yet? And as a dad, maybe it is annoying on the trip, but I want to look at it a little bit closer today and discuss it with you that maybe it's not so bad to ask the question, are we there yet? And I'll tell you why. I think it's a very important question to ask because you're asking something measurable. Does that make sense? If I know that my trip is 500 miles, as I get closer, I'm probably going to ask, are we there yet? Or are we getting closer? So let me tell you about a few things that are on the road that can help us measure, are we there yet? Now, why is it important to measure? Because I think when you measure, when you see that you're getting closer, that means you're making progress. Think about that. When you make a goal in life, hopefully you get closer every day. And maybe you're not, are we there yet? Maybe we're not there yet, but we're on the way. And so one important thing that I found on my trip to Pittsburgh were a thing called highway mile markers. Every exit in every state or all the highways that I was on kind of measured the miles that I've been making. And so once I crossed the Pennsylvania state line from West Virginia, like exit 1 was the first mile. Exit 5 was the 5th mile. Exit 10 was the 10th mile. Does that make sense? And if there wasn't an exit, then sometimes there was just this little sign on the side of the highway that said mile 13, mile 18. And so I knew that if I was going to exit 72, that is, if I saw exit 13, 18, 21, 23, as I saw those mile markers, I knew I was getting closer. Mile markers are big, and sometimes we forget. We forget how far we've come. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's important to ask, are we there yet, or where are we? Where in the world are we? Because mile markers show us how far we've come. Maybe you just zone out for the last hour or two on the road, or maybe the last year or two in your life. It's good to look around you, see where you're at. Are you still on the right path? Are you on that road that's going to get you to where you need to go? What mile marker are you on? So that's a big thing. Measuring where you are with the mile markers. Now, something else that I learned was really important on this trip, and I knew it, but I want to remind you what's really important is how much gas is in your tank. You don't want to run out of gas in the middle of the mountains of West Virginia. That would be crazy. Matter of fact, it would be terrible depending on where you were. You might see a bear or some, who knows, people with banjos. I don't know. Either way, you don't want to run out of gas. So mile markers are good to measure, but so are these instruments on your panel in your car. Look and see how much gas. Sometimes it's great to stop and get gas. That makes perfect sense for a car, but what about life? I think there are times that we need to look at our instruments, and we got to figure out what your instruments are. How do you know how much gas you have left? It's measurable. And anything that's mentionable and is manageable, it's measurable, so it's manageable. Because it's measurable, we can manage it. Does that make sense? So sometimes it's good to ask yourself, how much do you have left in the tank? Maybe you're on empty. Matter of fact, my car, if it gets too low, goes bing, 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 and a red light comes on. And I know that I only have a certain amount of miles, like 30, 50 miles, 30 or 50, I don't know what it is. I've never gotten that far because I'm weird about that. I don't like my gas tank under a half tank. But maybe your warning light's coming on, says you gotta refuel. And I think it's important to listen to that warning. What is refueling? Rest. Get some rest. Your body needs rest. Most of you guys are still growing. That's really important. Get some rest. Sometimes that getting the fuel is being surrounded by people who remind you how far you've come. They are encouraging you to keep going. For me to get from here to Pittsburgh, I had to stop at the gas station. My car needed the extra fuel that we didn't have when we left. We used some gas on the way there, we put more gas in, then we got there. Along your way, you're going to need more fuel. So, are you filling your tanks up? Are you using it? Make sure you fill it up before you hit empty. Make sure you keep putting gas into your tank. And then the last thing, this is a little short, but I think it's going to make sense. The last thing is stop and stretch every once in a while. There's these things called rest areas. Now don't do that alone. Don't go in the rest area alone. There'd be some creepy people from anywhere actually. But take some time on your journey to stop, look around, enjoy the scenery, but don't stay there. Stretch a little bit. That's good for you. It's good for me to stretch every 100 miles or so. I like to get out of my car, make some stretches, move my legs around because I don't like to sit and still. Not a lot of us do. But stretch, take some time. And so what we've learned today, we talked about mile markers. Mile markers are there so we can measure where we are to where we're going. And it's also there to remind us how far we've come. Look for the mile markers in your life. You're not the same person today that you were 3 years ago. And I can say that thankfully. I've grown as a person. I've grown as a dad. I've grown as a husband. I've grown as a neighbor. I've grown as a friend in the last 3 years. Sometimes I took the wrong turns. Those mile markers help me get back on track. Gas in your tank. Make sure you're getting fuel that's providing you the energy to get where you need to go. And rest stops. And the last thing I want to say to remind you on your journey, are we there yet journey, this road trip of life, is take care of your car. We kind of talked about it last week. You wouldn't loan out your car to someone who trashes it all the time. But take care of you. You know what I did before this big trip to Pittsburgh last week? In preparation for my big trip, I got new tires and I changed the oil in my car. I got new tires because the tires that were on my car before were getting kind of low, getting kind of worn, and I needed to make sure that if I'm taking myself and I'm taking the people that I care about, my son, on this trip with me, I wanted to make sure that we were safe as possible. Check the air pressure in the tires. Make sure the oil's changed every few, like 6,000, 7,000 miles. They'll tell you 3, but that's, I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. My mechanic said you could probably go 5,000 to 7,000 miles, no problem. Check the fluids. To have windshield wiper fluid. Sometimes I run into bugs. Sometimes I just smash and get junk all over me. Does that make sense? That's in life. My windshield had bugs on it, and I needed windshield wiper fluid so that it could clean off the windshield. Check your brakes. Sometimes we're going to need to slow down. Sometimes we're going to need to stop. Sometimes there's traffic in this life. Check your brake pads. Make sure that you're able to stop. Make sure that you can control your vehicle so that you can stop. And I think you know right now that I'm not just talking about vehicles. Check your brake pads and make sure that if you get going in the wrong direction, or maybe there's an emergency situation, you get off path, make sure you can stop. All right, mile markers, gas in the tank, take time to rest, and take care of your car. That's it for week 3. That's it for week 3. Now next week's going to be special. Next week I'm going to do this video while I'm in my car. Next week, I'm going to be driving to the beach, and I'm going to bring you with me. It's going to look a lot different. I'm not going to be here in the studio. I'm going to be in my car. Matter of fact, I may even put the phone on and be filming when you hear my kids saying, well, are we there yet? Where's the ocean? And I'm going to say, dude, we just left the house 15 minutes ago. We've got 10 hours of this thing. I'm going to take you with me. Guys, I hope you have an incredible week, and I want you to know, a lot of you that I get to talk to, I get to see how you're growing, and I'm so very, very proud of you. None of us are where we want to be for good, but we're all on the way. And I can tell you, as you look back and you see the rear view and you see where you've been, you're on the way, you're getting there, you're going somewhere, and hopefully we're all going to that place on purpose. So this week, think about your goals a little bit more. Think about, are you on the right highway? But also think about the mile markers. Take some minutes to look at those mile markers and appreciate where you are. Maybe you had to borrow a map. Maybe someone was there before you. Maybe you can appreciate their help that got you to where you are. And maybe the people that are going to help push you into where you need to be. It's going to be a great week. Guys, I'll see you next week. Love you. Proud of you. Just for who you are. I'll see you soon.